I've said this ever since I first saw the first concept of BMW's Neue Klasse, that I do believe that the Neue Klasse style for BMW is going to be a complete revival of the brand. At least that is what I'm hoping to see. And now, one of my favorite automotive artists on Instagram called Sugar Design, he's made this absolutely stunning design of what the next 3 Series Touring could look like. And BMW has in fact confirmed that we are getting a touring version of the next 3 Series, which is of course great to see. We're going to have a look at what the design boss of BMW, Adrian von Hooydonk, is saying about touring vehicles and the future of them for BMW. Very good news there. And then we're of course going to have a look at this design. There's one small change I want to do to this design to make it just a little bit more BMW in a side view. I'm going to let you know what that is and also show you the change in Photoshop in a minute. But before we do that, let's check out the article here from Car and Driver, because this is very interesting to see. From Car Scoops, I mean. I'm going to link it down below. I'm also going to link Sugar Design's Instagram down in the description. Go and check out his renderings. Very, very talented designer and artist. So checking out this article here, BMW confirms i3 Touring to help make wagons great again. BMW will continue using the I badge to distinguish its EV models from ICE offerings. Very predictable, expected to hear that. The M3 Touring and the M5 Touring has convinced BMW to build more estates. They call it estate, they should call it Touring. Come on, Car Scoops. When it comes to BMW, it's Touring. When it comes to Audi, it's Avant. When it comes to Mercedes, it's estate. So change that up to Touring. The new i3 will be the second model launched from its Neue Klasse family. It will also spawn an all-electric M3 that'll be sold along the ICE version. And we already knew this. We've seen the concept. We've seen the testing out on the track as well, looking like a pretty fun EV to drive. I'm still very curious to see how they're gonna try to make it feel different from other EVs, because that is the main problem I personally have with EVs today. Is it doesn't matter what EV you're driving, whether it be a Tesla Model 3 Performance, whether it be Hyundai Ioniq 5N with 650 horsepower, Porsche Taycan, they all have the same power delivery. And that is, the engine of a car is the heart of a car. And the heart, maybe not the heart is not the right word, because heart it just does the same thing in every single person. The engine of a car is the personality of a car, because that is what makes it, have different different vibes when you're driving the vehicle. When you have electric motors, you can't make an electric motor feel like they are different from each other. They all feel exactly the same. So BMW is working on this, and they say that the new M3, electric M3, is going to feel different. And I wonder in what way exactly. It's going to be interesting to see that. So BMW is aiming the new i3 squarely at the Tesla Model 3, and it might just become the most important vehicle in BMW's next generation of EVs. I think this whole Neue Klasse style is going to be one of the most important changes for BMW. I mean, they need to make a comeback when it comes to design, because lately they've just been off when it comes to both interior and exterior design. They need to do something about that. So hopefully this will change that. BMW has confirmed that it will kick off the Neue Klasse era with the second generation iX3, which has already been previewed by a concept. Once the iX3 arrives, BMW will follow it up with the new i3. Interestingly, the i3 will not just be offered as a traditional sedan, but as we said, it will come in a touring estate version for those who still appreciate a good wagon. And who doesn't? We need more wagons instead of crossovers and SUVs out on the roads, for sure. It just does not make sense to me why people are buying. 95% of people just prefer SUVs over wagons. To me, it never made sense. Unless you're 80 years old and you have problems getting in and out of the vehicle, bending your knees to get in because it sits a little lower, that is the only reason I can see a benefit of buying an SUV over a wagon. But that's just me. I think the Touring is making a comeback, said Adrian von Hooydonk, the design boss of BMW. Of course, we propelled it with the M3 Touring and the M5 Touring. They seem to be very popular. Great to see that, even in countries where touring or state cars are traditionally not very popular. So yes, there is a new wind in that segment, and we are very happy about that. And here you can see this design. I mean, it's an absolutely stunning design to me. I think if this is what the new Touring looks like, it's going to be an instant hit. I mean, I like pretty much everything about this because, as we talked about before with the Neue Klasse, all the key graphic features of BMW's history, specifically when it comes to the exterior design, all the key elements are still intact, but in a very, very modern way, of course. I also like this little roof box that we have up top, looking very beautiful. We're gonna have a look at this in a minute in Photoshop in more detail. SUVs are half our business, says Hoydonk. The other half are still sporty, elegant sedans or coupes. I didn't know that. I thought SUVs were 80% of BMW's business because they have so many of them, and you don't really see a lot of sedans and coupes anymore. So obviously we care about that other half as well. The new BMW i3 is expected to launch with a rear-wheel drive base model of around 300 horsepower. Sounds like pretty good numbers. All-wheel drive versions will come later. BMW also plans to spin off an electric version of the M3. We knew that already, previewed earlier this year as the Vision Driving Experience concept, which will feature 4 electric motors for truly ridiculous performance. So with that said, this is also, by the way, a pretty cool rendering. I do think the front end looks a little too boxy in this shape and low. I want to raise the entire car up, which is very unusual for me to say, but it feels like the proportions here look a little off for me. The front end looks too big compared to the rest of the body here. Could also be the lens that they used for this rendering. I'm not sure. Let's jump in Photoshop here and have a look at this design. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to pick up any pen and be able to sketch out and visualize your idea exactly like you want it on paper? Over the years, I've taught thousands of students from all over the world how to sketch cars and products using my simple sketching technique I call cloud sketching. So now my full 11-hour online course, Analog Designer Pro Pack, is the full bundle of all my classes I've released over the years, and it's yours for just $47. Check out everything that's included and see what my students have to say in the link in the description, or visit analogdesignerpropack.com. So Sugar Design, I've been a fan of his work for a very, very long time. I remember seeing him years ago. And just creating these beautiful renderings, and this is not this is very much in line with the quality of work that he's done. You can go and check it out, of course, on Instagram, linked down below, his entire account. What I like about this, first of all, the Neue Klasse front end. We talked about this before. What are the key elements in the front end? We have the 2 light elements, the angel eyes being intact here, even though they're squared off now. We have the 2 kidneys as well, even though the headlights are now morphed with the kidneys, which is totally fine for me. We have a separation of what's going on in the top half of the graphics compared to the lower half, with this massive intake in the lower section for the batteries. That is the only cooling that we have in the front end. The kidneys are actually not open. Instead, they're now these light elements. The hood design, we have this ridge in the middle. It seems to be a BMW trademark these days. They have it on pretty much every single new car. These side mirrors look like they can cut you in half if you stand too close to them. They're probably cameras in this case, something that we can't get here in 2025 in the US because of regulations. We still need to have the traditional mirrors here in the States, unfortunately. I think it looks pretty cool with side mirrors like this, even though one thing I don't want to see is the complete deletion of side mirrors, because if you look at the car, at least me, when I look at the car and it doesn't have side mirrors, it feels like it's lost a limb or something. It looks very, very strange, and to me it's a huge deal of a car design to have the side mirrors intact. Now, looking at the side view, this is where I wanted to let's switch this up like this. This is one change I wanted to make for this design, is to, you see this line right here, the shoulder line has a very nice line. We have a nice line going from the hood into the greenhouse, swooping up a little bit, have this subtle curvature upwards. Then we have this roof line, beautiful roof line, getting very tight here like we want to see, create a very sporty design for the touring version. And we have this line at the lower section to carve out this volume in the lower section here to make it feel a little bit more nimble. That then goes in again into the rear end and creating a nice smaller chamfer in the lower section, in the rear end, where it then goes into the diffuser. Now the thing that I wanted to change here is I want to see a Hofmeister kink in this. So let's see if we can do that real quick. Let's just duplicate this layer right here, go into liquify, and let's play around with this and see if we can just quickly, and not having to redesign too much, just make a Hofmeister kink out of this. Because Hofmeister kink to me is something that is so important for a BMW to have, that even in a touring version I still want to see it be intact here. So something like this maybe, and we can refine the edges to make it not so rounded and stuff like that, and maybe a little bit sharper corner up here. This tiny little change is definitely something that I personally want to see even in the touring version, because this, when we have such a new design language like the Neue Klasse is for BMW, to me that means that we need to keep as many key identifiers when it comes to the graphics as possible, because the rest of the design is so new that having those pieces that reminds of old BMWs are still going to be very, very important to have, including this Hofmeister kink. So here's the before, and here you can see the after. I just think it suits it a little bit better to have a Hofmeister kink there. That's just, of course, my opinion. Other than that, it's a very, very beautiful rendering. I do like the styling that we have, and the proportions look great as well. It doesn't necessarily look like an EV, because when you have an EV, usually what happens, you move forward the greenhouse to have it be something like this, and almost have a one single curvature going in from the hood up to the greenhouse. But here, if we draw the A-pillar down, you can see that it has almost the same proportions as we have in an internal combustion engine, meaning that it looks like we could potentially house an inline 6, a 3-liter inline 6 under a 231 horsepower like we had in the old 330, for example. Might be a little underpowered in today's world. Now, looking at the rear end, this is, of course, where the big changes from the sedan happens. And I think, honestly, the touring version looks so much better than the sedan, and I really hope that BMW, I'm sure they already have nailed the design for the touring version, but if they see this, maybe they can tweak it and have it look exactly like this, because this is what I want it to look like. We have a massive diffuser in the lower section, maybe a little bit too aggressive of a diffuser, because it looks like a big, separated piece, and then you have these funnels here with these probably reflector lights in here, looking very, very sporty. But I maybe want to have it be a little subtler than this and have it be more integrated in the body of the car. But I do like this chamfer that we have going on here. It says Neue Klasse. And looking at the taillights, I don't mind these taillights, to be honest. I think these look pretty good. They're very static, but again, we do have, I wouldn't say we have the same key graphics in the rear end like we have in the front end for BMW. This is harder to see that it is a BMW if we remove the logo here, for example. You can't really tell, but I think this is going to be a new identifier for BMW to have these type of graphics in the rear end, and we're gonna get used to it, and over time it's going to be synonymous with BMW to have these light settings here, and maybe a little bit more static design in the taillights. Would be nice to maybe have some more dynamic outline for this, for the taillights, to create a little bit more fluidity and flow and automotive design in the Neue Klasse. But that is what this new design language is all about. It's all about simplicity. It's all about good proportions, even if we're talking EVs. And most important of all is it's all about having the key graphic components of traditional BMWs intact, even if we're working with a new design language like the Neue Klasse here. So go and check out Sugar Design. So go and check out Sugar Designs and the rest of his Instagram account linked down below. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.